Walter Mischel ran the Stanford marshmallow experiment in 1972. Kids who waited 15 minutes for a second marshmallow scored higher on income, education, and stress management 40 years later. The trait wasn't willpower. It was time perception. They saw the future as real. Most 20-somethings don't. Your brain literally discounts future rewards. Psychologists call it temporal discounting. A $20 night out feels more real than $200 invested for 30 years. That's why DoorDash hits and your Roth IRA sits empty. People who get wealthy young rewire this. They don't save money, they buy future hours. Skipping the $15 lunch isn't deprivation. It's purchasing 2 minutes of a 50-year-old's freedom. Same dollar, different time horizon. You'll see it in tiny choices. They'll cancel the streaming subscription they don't use. They'll walk instead of Uber when it's nice out, not because they're cheap, because they've stopped letting present you rob future you. The habit is invisible, the compounding isn't. Instagram sold you a lie that wealth looks like Bali, brunch, and brand drops. Thomas Stanley spent 20 years researching actual millionaires for the millionaire next door. The result? Most drove used cars, lived in modest houses, and looked like your accountant uncle. The flashy people, usually drowning. There's a name for it: stealth wealth versus signaling wealth. Signaling burns money to look rich. Stealth keeps money to be rich. You can only do one. Here's what nobody tells you at 22. Every visible status symbol, the car, the watch, the apartment in the cool neighborhood, is a tax on your future. A $400 car payment in your 20s is roughly $1.2 million in lost compounding by 65. That's not a lifestyle. That's a hostage situation. People who get wealthy young aren't anti-fun. They're anti-performance. They'll spend on real experiences and skip the photo. They'll wear the same 3 outfits. They'll order water, not because money is everything, because they refuse to pay rent on someone else's opinion. Boring is the price of free. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory, 1954, showed humans automatically rank themselves against whoever's nearby. Social media made nearby infinite. Now you're comparing your salary to a 23-year-old in Dubai with a rented Lambo. Here's the brutal part: the comparison isn't even accurate. A 2021 study in the Journal of Consumer Research found people consistently overestimate others' wealth by 40–60% based on social media alone. You're losing a race that isn't real. The wealthy young flip the metric. They don't ask who earns more than me. They ask who has more choices than me. A friend making $120K trapped in a job they can't leave has less wealth than someone making $50K with 6 months of expenses saved and 0 debt. One can quit Monday, the other can't. This is called optionality. Nassim Taleb wrote a whole book on it. Real wealth is the number of doors you can walk through without asking permission. You're 23, broke, and feel behind. But if you have no debt, low expenses, and one marketable skill, you have more optionality than 90% of successful 30-year-olds. That gap is invisible on Instagram. It's everything in real life. James Clear's research on identity-based habits, built on B.J. Fogg's behavioral model at Stanford, found something wild. People who said, "I'm a runner," stuck with running 3x more than people who said, "I want to run." Identity beats motivation every time. Most 20-somethings approach money as an outcome. I want to be rich. That's a wish. The wealthy young approach it as identity. I'm someone who doesn't carry credit card debt. I'm someone who reads about the thing I do for a living. I'm someone who negotiates. Tiny shift, massive consequences. When earning is identity, you don't need motivation. You don't try to invest. You just do, the way you don't try to brush your teeth. You don't force yourself to read about your craft on weekends. You're just curious because that's who you are now. The psychological term is self-concept consistency. Humans will do almost anything to act in line with how they see themselves. Use it. Stop saying, "I'm bad with money." Every time you say it, your brain books it as truth and acts accordingly. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. Pick a better one. Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate, said it in 1971. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. He was right 50 years early. The average 18–25-year-old now spends 4–7 hours a day on phones. A 2022 study from the University of Texas found just having your phone in the room, face down, silent, measurably reduces cognitive performance. You're not losing time. You're losing the ability to think deeply at all. Wealth in your 20s rarely comes from working harder. It comes from 1 or 2 hours a day of deep, undistracted work on something that compounds: a skill, a side project, a real relationship. Cal Newport calls this deep work. The people who can do it are becoming a smaller minority every year, which makes them more valuable. The quietly wealthy delete apps, grayscale their phones, leave it in another room, read books that don't trend. They're not anti-tech. They're protecting the only asset that actually generates everything else. You can't outturn a fragmented mind. Your ability to focus is your earning ceiling. Guard it like rent depends on it. Eventually, it will. Here's the one nobody wants to hear. Brickman and Campbell's hedonic treadmill research showed that humans adapt to almost any income level within 1-2 years. Lottery winners return to baseline happiness. So do people who get rich slow. But here's what's different. People who get rich slow stay rich. A 30-year Vanguard study found that 80% of fast money winners, lottery, inheritance, sudden success, lose it within 5 years. Slow wealth has muscle memory. Fast wealth doesn't. The trap at your age is wanting it now. You see 19-year-olds with 7 figures online and your timeline feels broken. It isn't. Survivorship bias is just very loud. For every viral teen millionaire, there are 10,000 you'll never hear about who burned out, got scammed, or went broke quietly. The quietly wealthy at 30 weren't rushing at 22. They were learning, saving small, building one skill, staying out of debt. Boring, slow, compounding. You don't need to win your 20s. You need to not lose them. Stay in the game. Keep your costs low, your skills sharp, your debts at zero. Time will do most of the work if you let it. Permission to go slow is the most underrated wealth advice on earth. CTA 30 seconds. If this hit different than the usual finance content, no hustle culture, no fake urgency, just what's actually true, subscribe. This channel is built for people in their 20s who are tired of being lied to about what success actually looks like. More of this. None of the noise. Outro 30-45 seconds. You're not behind. You're early. The people who will be wealthy at 30 aren't the ones posting about it at 22. They're the ones quietly doing the boring stuff while everyone else performs. Pick one habit from this list. Start this week. In 10 years, you won't remember what your friends were posting. You'll just notice you have options they don't. That's it. That's the whole game.